Hey everyone, welcome back to the final video of the series. Hopefully this is the final video. We'll get through this. I think I'm going to go through just a quick refining pass on this character in this video and just kind of make things look a little more appealing. And then we're going to dynamesh everything together, shell it, and then send it off to a printer. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the print results. Probably going to paint the character, as I feel like that's good for presentation. And yeah, so that's pretty much everything we're going to cover in this video. First things first, please like, comment, and subscribe. I mean, just get into those comments because my comment section is off the chain, is crazy as ever. So feel free to comment, and all these things kind of help me to stay motivated and help the algorithm and help me to develop a little bit more of a following. So okay, let's just, with that being said, let's dive into where we're at here and continue to refine things. And I'm going to just continue to work around the model using the Damien standard brush, and just gonna clean this up a little bit. And so if we go back to our concept too, one of the things I found appealing was how big and drapey is the cape. I don't know how to speak English. English is only my first language. But I like that it comes all the way out over here and it kind of covers his shoulders and it just fans out more like horizontally. So I think I'm going to try to achieve that look a little bit more in this character with the cape. So just going to keep going with this, just pushing it over here a little bit. Hope everything's going good for you and that you're excited to learn new things. What's funny too is I'm learning just as much because I feel like you learn a lot as you teach. So coming over quite a bit more. Yeah, it's already looking a little more dynamic. I like to choose more simple characters. I mean, there's a lot of tutorials out there for Zbrush where you're making a super complicated character for, you know, for like Marvel or something that has 80 billion subtools and a lot of resolution, and I just think that's too daunting. You know, like people need to start simple. So I have worked in the film and video game industry for about a dozen years or so, and so I've used Zbrush since the very beginning. So I probably should know it a lot better than I do. But I find that what was I getting at with that? I find that just doing simpler characters just makes it more like achievable for people. So for now, I might do more complicated characters later on. I'm going to drop my intensity down a little bit on that. So let's look at it again. Getting closer, a little bit closer. Maybe a little bit happier with the 3D model. It almost never happens with me. I have so much malcontent with my artwork. I don't know if you guys feel the same way with yours. Like after I'm done working on a piece, I don't want to see it for another year, and then I'll come back in a year and I'll be like, oh, that wasn't bad. That was pretty good, especially for my first try. Like that was not bad. It's weird that I think that's fairly common for artists. We still have that weird ripple up here. It's ugly. Let's fix this. So I'm going to go to H polish. I'm going to come over here to brush and then go to auto masking and turn on back face mask. And that way if I hold Alt and turn up the intensity, hold Alt, it'll pull out that weird ridge. And obviously your character probably isn't doing this because you were smart and probably did it a better way than me, but this ridge is just kicking my butt for whatever reason. Hopefully we're not getting to the point where we're pushing that through the other side is the key. It's always good practice too to try and get rid of, I'm going to turn on my smooth stronger brush. Yes. So I can really smooth this bad boy out. Those little jankies, those little weird odd faces, we want those gone. because they can only cause problems when they go to your slicing software. So let's try and keep this model as clean as we can. It's one of the benefits of doing 3D printing though, is that you don't have to have your topology clean per se, but things do need to have a reasonable level of cleanliness to them, so that your slicing software knows what to do with all the faces. So, okay, looking a little bit better. The machine is kind of chugging today. I don't know why. I bumped the RAM in it too over the weekend, and hopefully those are holding up okay. This little guy, and then I'm going to accentuate his eyebrows using the clay buildup. Push those out a little more, give them more dimension, a little more volume. That's the way the ladies like their eyebrows, I think, these days, is to have a little more volume. If you could see mine, you'd see that I've reached max capacity with my eyebrows, man. You can barely see through those bushy monsters. So using the snake hook brush, kind of pops out a little bit more. Maybe a little too much. Let's try a fun little thing here. With our Damien standard, I'm going to hold Alt and then left click and drag and see if we can get see what we can do with like a hard edge on that eyebrow. And then with H polish, I'm going to come back in and refine, see what like a hard edge looks like on that. Oops, getting a little too crazy with it. Smoothing some of the weird artifacts. Yeah, I think that's looking kind of cool, I guess. Cool, yeah, that'll look nice. What else do we want to do here? Let's clean up these horns a smidge. We really want these details to show up, so we're just gonna, oops, there's that fun line. Happy accidents. It's funny, that thing it's done that since the very beginning, Zbrush. They still have not fixed it. Okay, yeah, it's looking better. Let's work our way around. Cool. How's my audio, by the way? I have this cheap mic that I got from Walmart, and wondering if I should upgrade. If you can't hear me very well, please leave a comment. Let me know how I'm heard. Nice. Yeah, I think it's looking better. And base is looking okay. Going back to, and remember, I'm just alt left clicking throughout my subtools to be able to work more quickly. A lot of people will get custom UIs going with ZBrush, but I find that I move around to different studios, right, in these different positions, and none of them are going to have my custom UI. And it gets to kind of be just a huge hassle to have to keep that with me at all times, so I'd kind of just stick with the bare bones ZBrush UI, and that's mostly for instruction too. I feel like you guys want to be seeing something familiar, you know, to what I got going on. So, okay, let's carry everything back just this way a little, and one thing I'm going to do is go to the pinch brush by hitting P, going to the brushes, hitting P and then I, and now I have pinch enabled. And we want to really crease some of these things together, right? We don't want them to look like we just pulled them out like clay. And the pinch brush is just, I love the pinch brush. It does some really unique, cool things. It's one of my favorite brushes. And it's just something I use just subtly, just, you know, when I'm doing stuff like this, just refining my details. Obviously, you don't want to make these too pointy because you don't want to stab yourself, but also you want to make sure that your printer can actually print those, you know, that level of detail. My printer's pretty sweet because I'm a printer snob. I've got the Saturn II from Elegoo, and that prints at 8K and I think down to 0.35 microns, or 35 microns, I should say, and that'll do the job. It'll get pretty much it'll get details that I'm not even capable of seeing with my naked eye. Pretty crazy. But also my eyes are terrible. So re-dynameshing, control, right click drag, left click drag, and then just kind of pulling some more of these guys out. These little guys. Maybe I'll like that, maybe I won't. I'll turn off solo mode and check it out. I think I do. Tyson do likey. Oh, my name's Tyson, by the way. I guess I should reveal that. If we're going to level up our friendship. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Turn off on solo mode again. Kind of work our way through some of these details a little bit better. This is kind of looking like a blobby mess, so we'll pull some more out of this guy. I think I'm getting just a little bit nitpicky. You're probably ready for me to go get into the printing stuff, which we will do. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Turning off solo. I think I'm going to do just a little bit of an inflate on everything just to make sure things are going to be thick enough at print. I'm going to scale down his foot size just a little bit, but not too much because I'm worried about those contact points. Awesome. Oh, the last thing I was going to do is come over here to the sword. If I hit Shift F to show the poly frame, you can see that it is not Dynamesh. So we're going to run a Dynamesh on this for now. and that's too low, so we're going to crank the resolution to like 600 and then re-dynamesh. And the thing I want to try and achieve is maybe some little nicks and dings in the blade. So using the snake hook. You could use just the Damien standard and start just kind of running over it. You know, maybe there's some, you know, some swords, some little gouges in there. Whoops. Turn on solo mode, get everything out of the way. Yeah, I kind of like that look. I like that. It's looking a lot better. So you can just scale down the draw size of your snake hook, and then just start pulling those in and out. If I use the Damien standard, sometimes things will push through the other side in an awkward way. So just kind of. Now I'm going to use the Damien standard up here, up top. I think his sword has like very kind of a cracked feel, like it's almost like a stone or something. So let's go for that. Nice. Go back to snake hook. If you're interested in learning how to set the hotkeys on your brushes, you can check out my other video, my other intro to Zbrush video with the keys back character. And in that video, I show you how to make hotkeys for your brushes. I'm trying to keep this series a little bit shorter, so. Okay, these are getting a little drastic. Some of them, so I'm going to pull those back out. And then I'm going to add some deeper kind of gouges. Some of these won't show up in the print because it's going to be too small, but we won't know until we do it. So the other thing we can do is there's some cool, in the Lightbox Tools brush, there's some cool slash brush I think I showed earlier in the series. That this one looks pretty cool, and it actually kind of puffs out the sides a smidge, so it's going to help us to see it a little bit more. Maybe a little too much, I don't know, it might be kind of awkward looking. Yeah, it's too much. We don't want it to look like it's getting destroyed. I'm gonna up my resolution to about 1000-ish, and then re-dynamesh. And cool. Just going around, and then going over with the H polish too can do some cool like nicks and dings. In fact, if you come over to material and change this to like MAH shiny, you can see those details a little bit better as you run across the surface. And this looks kind of like, I can't remember what the term is, I think it's like a dibbling or something, a dibble effect. Like basically a hammer that's been pounding on this steel, you know, as it's been red hot to try and strengthen the steel. So, and also it's been in combat, so there's going to be some nicks and dings in it. So I'm probably overdoing it, but that's my MO. I love it. I love overdoing it. Coming around to this side and just going all around it. Yeah, getting those little dibbles in there. I think those are dibbles. Alright, awesome. Let's turn off solo mode. Check out what this guy looks like in the metallic shader. Pretty awesome. My go-to personally is the matte cap gray. That's the one I prefer. And if you want to set that as your default material, you can set it to the material. Come over here to material, and then do save as startup material. And then it'll use that each time if you don't like that weird waxy red that the guys at Pixelogic just loved so much, so weirdly. I don't understand why. Yeah, that waxy red. I don't know anyone that actually sculpts with that, to be honest. It's just kind of a weird color for them to choose. Hey, we love them. We love the Zbrush guys. Just giving them a hard time, just razzing them. Turn on solo and wrap this guy around a little better. Smooth. And cool. Okay, I think that's what we're gonna do for now, guys. So this character is basically ready. Let's hit save. And I'm gonna save, and then I'm gonna version it up. So we're kind of securing a state that we like. So right now it's fairly simple in the subtools. We just want to merge these all down, all together. So we're just going to do merge visible. And what that does is that actually pulls it all over into a new tool. And we want to then from here run a Dynamesh. I'm going to come over here. And then 128 is going to be way too low, but let's just do it real quick just to see what it does. Okay, so it's too low. We're starting to see the faceting. We're starting to see polygons, so we're going to crank that to like 376 and let that cook for a minute. Thinking about it, and I think that did the job. So yeah, the key here is we don't want to lose any of our detail, all of our hard work. So okay, from here I think I'm going to shell this model. And it's kind of a tricky way of doing it. What you have to do is you come over here to your brushes, and then I like to choose, you can choose any of these primitives to activate the shell, but I like to go over here to insert mesh and then choose a cylinder. So again, that was the IMM primitives, either one of these will work, and then do a cylinder. And in order to get that to work, what we have to do is come over to an inconspicuous area. So this is where the hole is going to be in your model. So we like to have those on the bottom, you know, on the base, not like on the forehead or somewhere visible, but just like down here. So I'm going to hold Alt and then left click and drag, and you see we've drug out a cylinder. And it's kind of weird. It's like an inverted normals. If you rotate around, it's inverted. So we don't need to worry about that. But what we're going to do is go to our transform gizmo and then drop this down. And the depth that you have this in your model is the depth at which the shell is going to start, okay? And this is a super weird way to do it. This is one of Zbrush's weird things. And there might be a better way nowadays, but I'm not familiar with it. So now that we've moved that into position, I'm going to control left click and drag and make sure everything's unmasked. And then come over here to my geometry menu, and then in the create shell, I want to change the thickness to about, usually, this is an arbitrary number, but usually between 20 and 30. So I'll do like 25 for now. We'll see what that does. And this takes a while to cook. So after you've typed in 25, just click. I'm first going to save. I like to save. Ooh, that's being weird. Unable to open file. Sounds like a bug, Zbrush. So I'm going to go to save as and then navigate to my, right here to my tutorials. I'm going to version up my file to 5. Their versioning buttons and their save button don't work sometimes. I'm not sure why. I think it might have been because I snapped everything over to a different subtool, and so it doesn't know where to save to. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so we're at the shell portion of the... Okay, so... Whoops. Hold on a sec here. Okay, now I can't create shell. Here's what I'm going to do. So if I control, let's get rid of this guy and try this again. So if I hit Control Shift left click on a point on the cylinder, and then invert my selection by Control Shift left click and dragging outside of it, and then I'm going to go to Modify Topology and then Delete Hidden. And then I'm going to try this again. But let's make sure first that we are in Dynamesh, because for whatever reason the Dynamesh button got deactivated. So we're going to turn that back on, make sure that's all lit up like a Christmas tree. And then we're going to make sure that our cylinder is activated. Hold Alt and then left click and drag on the bottom, and then I'm going to go to my transform gizmo, drop that down as we did before, and we want it to be, you know, a couple millimeters in there. It's hard, you're kind of guessing for right now, but control and then left click and drag to clear your mask, and then make sure this is at 25, and then hit create shell. And I may skip ahead. This sometimes can take, you know, around between 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how high poly your mesh is, your character is. Or you can just sit here and listen to me breathe. That sounds like tons of fun. Talk about my health issues. No, I'll keep it G-rated for everybody. Okay, it looks like my shelling is complete. It took about 20 minutes, so I'm going to skip ahead in the video. And if you'd like, you can pause now and try to catch up. But for now, so let's take a look at our shelling and see how that looks. So this is exactly what it did. It goes through and makes a hollow model for you. Fits the name, right? And I'm curious to see if it actually made it up through the legs. I doubt that it did. So let's just do this. Let's going to orthographic view, holding Control Shift left click and then drag, and then I'm gonna hold Alt to turn this to be red, and I'm gonna hide that portion of the model. And let's see if it looks like it may have made its way up into the leg there. A good way to know is to come up to the head and then do the same thing, and let's see if the head is, oh, it is. So it is actually shelled. And I forgot to mention the reason we do this, it probably would have been important to lead with, is because resin isn't cheap, and specifically resin printing is not cheap in comparison to the FDM or the extruders. So we shell our models to save on our material costs for now. Hopefully things will get cheaper down the road, but for me, I'm poor and desperate, so I shell my models, and it makes my resin go significantly further. So we're doing that. I'm going around and just going to clean up the base. Keep in mind, if I hit Shift F, we are still in Dynamesh phase. So we can still make our edits. We haven't done any decimation or any kind of retopology or anything like that. So we are still in a workable phase of our character. And hitting P, and then I'm going to come over here to Document and go to actually Draw, and then change it to a 24 focal distance. And it gives us just a better perspective. I'm going to version up my file by hitting Save Next. And that must have been what it was, because it shifted everything to a new subtool, and we combined all our subtools together. The save functions were kind of deactivated in that sense. So since I manually did a save as, it now works as expected. There's still a little bit of wonkiness in this little area that's kind of catching my eye. So I'm going to clean this up. Smooth it out. I like that better already. I think we're ready to decimate this character. Maybe a little bit of cleanup under the eye right here. Let's do that. Smoothing, smoothing, and increase the frame just a little bit on this side. Smoothing above. One thing I tend to do as well is, well, I tend to have my characters looking down too much. This is something that's kind of a gotcha. Every single time I 3D print my characters, their heads, even though they look like they're looking pretty much straight, are always looking down. So what I'm going to do is, holding Control with my mask pen, I'm going to start to paint a mask around the head. And try to just keep it right on the head right there. And go up the horns. And then Control Alt left click will go inverse of the mask. So I'm going to just try and get just this head portion as closely as possible. And you can adjust your opacity of your mask by using this RGB intensity. And you can drag that down to like a 20, and then kind of what we're doing essentially is we're kind of painting some skin weight so that we can rig a temporary joint in the head and then rotate his head up a little bit. So with my transform gizmo on him, and this is I'm turning off the new transform gizmo and going back to the old traditional one, and then we're going to just position that in the neck area. And then we're going to grab the inner circle of the top circle and then rotate the head up a little. And then I'm going to switch over to move, and then in order to use the move function, I'm using the inner white circle on the center dot on the center circle, and then just bringing it up just a little bit. So now we do have a little bit of weirdness here, but I think it's manageable. I'm going to use H polish, try to clean some of that up a little or smooth it out. Maybe just use good old-fashioned snake hook here. Let's push it up, back up where it needs to be. Okay, and then, whoops, use my mouse. Can you believe that? Sometimes I do that. I have this expensive Cintiq and I catch myself using my mouse all the time, like a doofus. Okay, so I think I would clean that up enough. Drop that down just a tiny bit. The snake hook, and come back up with this guy right here. Yeah, and then undo my mask. Okay. Alright, I think that's going to work better for us once we get this guy off to print. So, looks like we did it a little bit on that side too. So let's come up right here. And then switching to the Damien standard, getting a little nitpicky. And then running that edge a little better. Cool. Making sure that we don't have any weird holes or anything in the mesh as we go around and refine. Thinking about maybe selling this model, this 3D print file on my site, my website at kickpunch.com. So if you're interested in just grabbing that file and don't want to have to learn the intricacies of Zbrush, then feel free to head over there. Put the link in the description. It's just the name of the channel. I was lucky enough to get the .com for it, so. Okay, so we're coming back this way with this guy now. I think that's looking better. Awesome. Gonna hit save. And then we are pretty dense. I am pretty dense, that's true. My wife will tell you. If I mouse over right here, we are at, if you look at the polys equals about just over 6 million faces. So what we're gonna do is decimate this character. First thing I'm going to do is hit Control W to make sure everything is one poly group. I'm going to hit P to go into perspective mode because it looks cooler. And then I'm going to go to Decimation Master. First I'm going to save. I'm going to go to, it's always good practice to save before running any of these tools or any of these functions just in case things crash. I'm going to go to Pre-Process Current, 20% of the decimation, which is fine. Just hit Pre-Process and let that cook for, it's probably going to cook at this resolution for about 5 minutes. While we're waiting, please feel free to head over to kickpunch.com and check out the different files I have on my website. Let's just open it up. Let's do that. Alright, technical difficulties. Okay, so here's my website. And I just offer these digital files that you can just buy and print. I've always been really into like the military and military history and the different battles. This guy's a British soldier from World War I, and this is a World War II U.S. Marine, another Marine, and this is a Minecraft Enderman character from that goofy game that my kids love so much. Got an F4U Corsair and a road roller, because for whatever reason, the older I get, the more obsessed I get with heavy equipment. just like the look of it. I love the mechanical look of these things. They're just these big sort of mech robots that we use in our everyday lives, and we don't even, people just drive past and they don't even think about them nowadays, but they still catch my eye. And so I'm determined to continue making these. I want to make a few different types, like a Mini X, a skid steer, and a few different construction heavy equipment deals. And if you think that's cool, then let me know. Leave me a comment. Actually, just leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. If you like these guys the way I'm going, or if you like this this character, let me know what you guys want to learn how to make. Or if you'd like to see a digital print file on my website, just let me know. One thing to keep in mind too is sometimes when Zbrush is cooking a process and you mouse over to like a secondary monitor or something of the sort, it'll hang your process until you mouse back over your Zbrush file. I've had this get me quite a few times working in the industry when I'm up against a tight deadline. I'm trying to get my maps exported, and because it has to be the active window, it'll tend to hang. So just keep that in mind. So if this pre-processing just wasn't cooking, for example, then just remember to have this be the active monitor. Just be sure to click on the window and make sure that it's the active window. Okay, we're at 50%-ish of the decimation pre-process, so I might skip ahead a little bit. Okay, looks like our pre-processing is done, but we're not done yet. So we're going to come back to the Z plugin menu and go to decimate current. And usually this is quite a bit faster to run through than the pre-processing. So this should only take a few seconds. Looks like it's already done. So if I hit Shift F on the keyboard to see my polyframe, we see that we've been decimated now. So we're no longer in a workable state. So I don't recommend going around and sculpting on this now at this point. But let's see what our poly count is if we mouse over the subtool. Looks like we are at a semi-reasonable 2.4 million, but we're going to run another decimation, but bring this up to, let's say 35, and then pre-process that again. Should be exponentially faster this time around. Okay, so the pre-processing is done. We're going to go back to the menu and hit decimate current once again, and then hit Shift F once that is done to see our polyframe, and then mouse over, and we are at a cool 850,000-ish polygons. So we're good now. I like to keep things under a million, or around a million, maybe up maximum 1.5 to send to the printer. Let's hit Shift F, make sure we hit Control W to make sure that we're in polygroups. I like to do it a few times just to be safe. And then we're going to hit Save. What I'm going to do is do Save Next though. Whoops. I'm going to do Save As. I'm going to version up the file. Sorry, I have to navigate back. Tutorials. I like to version up my files when I move away from the Dynamesh stage and into the decimation stage, just so that it's a little more non-destructive. Okay, so we need to scale this file. So if you come to Z plugin, and then let's dock this menu over here and go to the 3D print hub. And if we do that and immediately click update size ratios, it's going to give us, it's going to say what do you want me to guess? What do you want from me? Is what it's saying. But it's going to say you can choose basically what the dimensions you want. So if I want it to be less than an inch, so tiny, or if I want it to be 8 inches to 8 inches tall, or length times width times height, so 6.5 inches high, or you can do metric as well. I'm going to stick to inches because I'm a snobby American. So I'm going to go with 8 inches for this guy, or 6 inches, this one here. So click on that guy, and now ZBrush thinks that this is this dimension. And what I want to do is actually scale the largest number, which is the length. I believe it's this direction or this direction, not quite sure. is 8 inches. Yeah, I would assume it'd be this direction here. I'm going to turn that down to 4. I don't want to print this character very large, and then that'll adjust all the other ratios so that it maintains. And then from there, I'm going to save, and then do a let's export an obj. I'm going to put that into the print folder and leave it called Hollow Knight 07 and hit save. And the file is successfully exported. I'm going to open up Box, which is the slicer I like to use for my Saturn printer. Okay, I'm going to bring that over to this monitor so we can all see and be merry. I'm going to open this up, click on that button up there, and go to my file. Man, so much navigating in this video, I apologize. Tutorials, modeling, and then print, and then I'm going to grab that OBJ and see what size it comes in at. Whoa, screen is freaking out. So clearly our scaling did not work. I think what happened, check mesh volume size options. Let's try update size ratios again. And then change this to 4 again. And then export to OBJ. Interesting. We'll try to overwrite this and just see if that helps. If not, we'll just scale it in our slicing software and call it good. Okay, so I'm going to minimize, open up my box, and then let's try opening another one and see if that works. I doubt that it did. Okay, so our scaling in Zbrush is not working at the moment, but rather than troubleshoot that, what I'm going to do is, I don't know why I deleted both of them. We're going to bring one of those little tiny guys in, and we'll just do the scaling on the box size. So if you come over here and click the scale button, and then click on any one of those lines, you can scale this up. And just keep in mind that this is the dimensions of my printer. So my Saturn II, I believe it's like a 7.5 inch wide by 5.5 inch deep printer. So that's going to be about the size that we want. So for this character, I'm not super worried about the scale. For another character, you'd want to be absolutely meticulous about that and make sure parts fit together and whatnot, or a client is happy. One thing I like to do as well is I find I get better results if I orient my model at like a 45-ish degree rotation. So about right there. But it's also kind of nice to not get the supports in, or to keep the supports in conspicuous areas, so that we don't have to worry about sanding as much to get the support points smoothed out. So I think that's good for now. I'm going to come over here and click on this other tab. This is the support tab, and then once that loads up, I'm going to click all, and this is just going to add our supports. Okay, cool. So we've got our supports now, and then another thing to verify in your settings is what specific resin are you optimizing for. So each one of these resins comes with different settings that you need to kind of nail down. And Elegoo, if you go to their website, they come with presets for pretty much every resin that you can buy on the market. So I'm using the 8K Space Gray Saturn II resin, and these are supposedly the optimal settings for that, and I haven't had any issues with that after using those settings. So you can actually just import those settings. It'll provide like a new profile that you can download to your desktop or whatever, and then come here and just do, and then import those. Sorry, right there, this is the import button. So just click import, and then you can navigate to your profile file, and then just it'll update all of these for you. So this is the settings I'm using, and then, man, the display is being weird. I'm going to then from here slice my model, and I'm going to go grab my flash drive. Okay, great. So I've got my flash drive plugged in. I've got my model sliced. And all I have to do from here is hit save and then navigate to my flash drive. I'm going to make a new woman exhausted. That's funny. Hollow Knight. And I'm going to click into that guy, remove this underscore here, and then just hit save. And sometimes that can take a little while depending on the resolution and how many layers you had to slice, and usually it's a fairly quick process to get that exported. So there's two file types you save out of your out of Chitubox. You save like your working 3D file, and then also you save out the print file. That's your output file that you send to your printer. So this is saving out the output file right now. Okay, great. So it looks like it's been exported to the directory. I can click to open the folder, and then yep. So the CTB file is in the directory, and I can just yank out my flash drive and then take it over to my 3D printer, and I'll show you that in the next video. I apologize, this video got pretty long, but I'll try to cut through the loading and the optimizing and the tool running, so it's not so long. Anyway, we will see you guys in the next video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one. Thank you. Okay, so we've got the print out of the printer, and I've run it through the alcohol bath, and you can see that this resin's pretty dark. It's kind of hard to show, but the quality turned out pretty awesome. And what we're going to do now is go and start snipping off the supports. And one thing you'll notice right away is that sword definitely could have been inflated out on the Zbrush side a little bit more. It's super paper thin, which is crazy that a printer can print that thin. But also, yeah, we should have just compensated for that on in the 3D side. So I'm going to start snipping these off. I've already kind of started with the sword, but one thing to note is that in order to protect those really fragile parts, you can just go along and just kind of snip right along just the base of the model before you actually go and start breaking things off. So a lot of times when you just start kind of going hog wild with breaking these supports off, that's when you break your print, your details out. So just be a little bit careful, and then things will go a-okay. I'm just gonna start snipping these by hand a little bit. This resin is the 8K resin from Amazon. I think it's a Resi, no, it's not Resi 1. Not sure what the company is, but it's a pretty cool resin. It's a little more viscous than the other resins. That's what I think enables it to print more fine details. Sometimes you gotta just kind of tear them. Yeah, this resin's pretty tough. So I've already gone through and pre-snipped along the sword. Out of frame here. And then another thing that's good to do, a little pro tip, is go through the base, along the base of the supports, and just start breaking that into pieces. And then it'll come apart a lot easier. Just start snapping that thing. And hear the snap on that resin. It's a pretty durable resin. So then you can kind of just pry up on them, and they'll pop right off. Be careful with that sword. Sometimes too, you can go, let's get this out of the way. You can go in your print and then just kind of twist. Find the twisting motion is like the best motion to get that stuff out easily. So see there's still some cleanup. Contacts are at. We could take our file along that. And one thing that I like is I still, this from my wife, is like nail file. You can just run that right along. Like some of those points and just smooth them right out. So that's going to wrap up this series on making a Hollow Knight character. I'm interested in getting your feedback on what you would like to learn and how I'm doing. Please leave a comment. Are my knuckles too hairy? Are my fingernails too long? Shoot me a message and let me know what you'd like to learn about, or maybe ways that I can improve these videos. Are they getting too long? Am I detailing my actions enough so you know what you're doing? How's my instruction? Things like that. So thanks again for joining me, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next series.